Hi everyone, my name is Mihaela Mihuds. I am a proud lifetime member of the Actor Studio and an international acting coach. I am so thrilled for my podcast, Hey Stella, and our journey together celebrating life and the professionals who must deal with life in depth, the actors. They must live it truthfully in the fictional stories. They must not pretend. So, yes, acting is living truthfully. Acting is. If you are going to tell anybody what it's like to do another take, when you just realize that you actually did a 1 hour podcast episode, which I just did, the whole time I was performing, I was letting myself be in the moment. I was so happy with it. And then when I go back to download it and to replay it, I realized the whole 50 some minutes were mute because my microphone was off. Oh, talk about Primal Scream. You know, there's a lot of talk about the Primal Scream, and people have no idea what that is. You're asking me what the Primal Scream is what I feel inside myself right now. Imagine doing something in your life. Think of something that you have done recently that you felt so proud of and you felt so excited by, and you couldn't wait to put it out there for people to listen to and to see. And then you play it, and it's 1 hour of moment to moment, you think, exciting work for the people. And the microphone is off. Oh, no, 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 no. Huh, 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 huh. Oh, that's just the surface of the primal scream that is expressing how I feel. But then at the same time, I'm going, what is this podcast about, everybody? Tell me what this podcast is about. What? It's about acting, but it's about acting and the link between it with everyday life and its successes in other professions outside of just the acting. And then I calm myself down, realizing performers, people in everyday life, in other professions, they have to habitually do every day, starting from the beginning until the end, numerous times. You know how they say failure will help you achieve more successes because it will put you in touch with that which you have to work at. So when you fail, you will have to face your weaknesses because you have to face the failure. By facing the weaknesses, you get to learn and overcome it and get to more successes. So yes, I am more hyped because of what just happened. I am a little bit annoyed. I am allowing the expectations right now. Truth, speak the truth. I'm allowing the expectations that I put on myself right now to do justice to this another take and have as much moment to moment as I thought I have in the first one. But then I have to say, you know what? Let that go. Let that go. And this takes me to the first take was about me coming on and acknowledging to you, viewers and listeners, and I hope each episode will bring more in because I think it's one of a kind podcast that will, if people get more acknowledgement of it, it will be so much more revelatory for your life, for your everyday life. This is what I mean. So for example, I was going to come on, and I did come on in the first take, and I said, you know what? I feel no passion. I have no passion. I have no inspiration this week. I've never waited for a whole week like I am now to do the episode. Usually by Monday or Tuesday, I kind of like know what I want to talk about, and I'm passionate, and I'm like, let's get it done. So then I edit it, and then I get it out there by no later than midweek. But for this last week, I had no passion. I had no inspiration. I had no God helping me out to give me some creativity. And that made me realize what this episode should be about. The one actress in the world that all of the acting coaches and acting gurus and acting directors over times went to observe in life or on screen was the Italian actress Eleonora Duse. Eleonora Duse, the story goes that she was in a play that she did over and over and over again, talking about taking another take, doing another take, doing another performance. And what was so absolutely brilliant about what she was able to do before the method, before Stanislavski, before Grotowski, before all of the others, she was able to instinctually, organically come to a scene in the play where she, as the adult, meets in the script her lover, her first lover, her innocent first love. She approaches him. They come together after I don't know how many years of having not seen each other. This is as the characters in the play. And every time, doesn't matter how many times she did the play, every time on that particular moment when she first sees him, she blushes. Physically, her face gets red, pink, rosy, because of the innocence that's being brought up in her, seeing this lover from her youth. And it is spectacular. How is she able to do that? One time you can blush when you're doing the one take or you're doing the performance. Okay, that's an accident. It happens. But how do you depend on it as an actor to be able to recreate that same blush of the cheeks? Bring up the innocence in yourself as the actor, as the character. First, you have to bring it up as the actor, meaning as the person, before the character, because you are the character. It's not like you're putting the character to the side and you're coming as the actress and you're saying, Eleonora Duse, let me just call for my character. Come over, character. No, there's no character outside of yourself. It's you. You're the instrument that's bringing the life of the script, that's bringing life to the words of the writer. So she would come and she would create that blush over and over and over again. Stanislavski seeing that, Strasberg seeing that, decided to come up with a dependable system that the actors can go to. Even though she was doing it organically, instinctually, Stanislavski and Strasberg and all the other, Meisner, Stella Adler, blah, 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 doesn't matter, techniques were invented, were written down in manuals for actors for the first time to be able to do what Eleonora Duse was doing instinctually. They came up with a method to that. So I was thinking, what must she have done? Which of the techniques must she have used to recreate that blush, that innocence that would raise into her cheeks and give her that sensation of youth and the first kiss? Kiss me. My first kiss. My lips have not been touched. Do you see? I'm learning to why the first one was mute. Microphone. It's on now, I hope. And I was thinking, in order to be able to understand what she must have done, I have to actually try to do it myself. So from my teachings as an actress at the Actor Studio for so many years, and also as an international acting coach, which I am so proud to announce every beginning of the episode, I know. I would try to recall what would be the event in my life that would make me blush now as an adult. And I will go back to how do I find the event when I want to draw from it? I will go back to the innocence. Innocence takes me back to youth. Youth takes me back to the village where I grew up. that I talk about all the time. Kaya numik visita sa Romania, Transylvania. For those people who only speak American, you will hear Transylvania. You will know that I am specifically talking about my village in Transylvania. Takes me there. What do I do now? I sensorially, I create by visualizing the place associated with my childhood. Road, I talked about it in a previous episode. Close your eyes if you must. You can even keep them open. Fence, I can keep them open. Fence, gray, cement, house of my grandparents, sidewalk with a little bit of a hill, grass that we used to get together and sit on, kids from the neighborhood, the group of us, and then the main road, 2-lane, one this way and one this way. Our house was a little bit like on a corner. That's the place. I see it. I see it right now. The door, I even feel, go to another sensory. I'm trying to open the handle. So now I feel the handle. The handle was silver and did it have sharp edges? Not really, but it would also now go to the hearing. As I open it, it would make a squeaky noise. It needed to be oiled maybe. Wow, I'm there. I'm really there. The evening that I am now trying to put together, which occurred to me due to all the sensory that I just described to you, that night is the night before we were due to go on an excursion to the Black Sea. There's this boy, there's a group of us, the friends from that beginning end of the village, because we were number 12, so it was like as you enter the village, now they have more houses, so I'm not sure how it is because I haven't been there in a long time and I look forward to going. But the one person that comes to mind right now is my first love. My first love. And just because I want to be respectful, because not everybody wants to reveal their personal youth events or kisses, I'm not going to mention the name, but I will tell you that this boy was very handsome. He was very tall. He was very cool looking in those times. He was like the handsome, cute boy from the village. He was driving at that time, not a lot of youth, young people. You have to be 18 to have a driver's license, but he had a car. And you also have to remember, so many years ago, as is now in so many shows on television, like Married at First Sight, which is one of my favorite shows. Yes, I am doing advertising for it. It's based on arranged marriages, which was the case years ago, and people nowadays were kind of against them. But now with this show and the show doing so amazingly all over the world, people are like, yeah, arranged marriages. My parents were arranged marriage and they're together 50 years later. Knock on wood. I wish them 50 more. I think our families were expecting that our families went back to where we were related, but not close relation. So I think that because our families were doing great at that time, as they were like respected by the rest of the people. And I think they kind of saw me and this boy ultimately kind of getting together and marrying and having a family, and with both of our properties, we would have all that we need. But it wasn't spoken about. It wasn't like a direct, let's have a conversation about it. But this is my interpretation. So for those people who know things better, or maybe I misunderstood something, then I'm only speaking my opinion and my interpretation of what I saw. Oh my God, I'm already red. Well, I'm red now because I'm like so hyper, but the first time I wasn't red. And anyway, So we were supposed to go onto the Black Sea, and my father was in Detroit, Michigan already. He had left Romania for the United States. And I wasn't convinced that I was ever going to leave Romania. I thought that I was going to go to America for vacation, and then, my life was going to happen in Romania. I saw myself as being there, especially with my grandfather, my grandmother, but then she passed when she was very young. Both of my grandmothers passed when they were very young. And then I took care of my grandfather as much as I could, and I supported him until he passed. But I always imagined my life to be in Romania. Like, I never expected that I was going to end up in New York, where I am now. Anyway, going back to this boy. So this boy comes now into the picture as I brought him in by recalling, using sensory tools, right? Using our senses, because that's how we have to live everyday life. We have to live due to how our senses respond to things around us. And that's the same way that you have to live on stage or in front of the camera. You have to recreate living as if you're living it in everyday life. You have to recreate the living. So the senses have to be involved. Now, if I'm bringing him, like I said, I'm bringing him into the picture. He's taller than me, good looking. And now I remember him looking down at me, even though I was tall. I wasn't as tall as he was. So that was one thing that I also liked. Looked up, approaches, kisses my lips. I don't know if it was like a crazy kiss, but it was crazy because it was, as I remember, my first kiss. It felt so good. Oh my God. I'm feeling it right now as I close my eyes, and there's, all I have to do is close my eyes, give myself a second and leave myself alone, and not judge myself and think, oh my God, the people that are going to see this video are going to think I'm completely crazy. That's what's going on in my head right now, but I'm going to put that to the side. Those thoughts, I want them to go away, go away, go away, go away. But this is what creativity is. It's re-experiencing. The art of acting became the art of experiencing at the actor studio. So you have to experience as if it's happening in the moment. I am now approaching. I feel that his face is approaching my face. I feel that he is, I have to shut up so he can kiss me. My lips were so much more beautiful at that time. They were plumber, they were red. And now he's approaching my lips and he's kissing me. And I can feel it. And I'm getting butterflies. I'm getting butterflies. I'm not sure if he put his arms around my shoulders. I don't remember what happened with his arms, but I do remember the kiss, and I was so excited. I was so happy. And I was so not wanting to go on that vacation. I was like, who cares about the vacation? I want to be here. Kiss. I feel so good. I want to kiss more and more and more. But, okay, so we had to go to that excursion the next day. We had to drive to the Black Sea. I couldn't wait to come back. The whole thing was like, oh, I want to go back and be with him and blah, blah, blah. So we came back. I remember being with him in the house at one point, and the kissing was for a little bit longer than the first one. And I remember he was kind of hugging me and holding me at the same time. And I was so happy. I was experiencing like butterflies. But then everything changed, because what I had thought, which was that I was going to live in Romania forever, did not happen. And I had to go to where my mom, my dad, myself, and my sister were now living in Detroit. So over the next couple of years, the summer vacations were happening back in the village. So we would fly from Detroit back. But the relationship with him changed. So the relationship with him kind of finished, because I think he realized too, and his family realized, that there was no way that I was going to live in the village, since my parents were already, they immigrated to America. So they were disappointed. I mean, we still remained friends. But what happened every time after finishing the high school in Detroit, I ended up going back to Bucharest, the capital of Romania, for acting school. That's my bachelor's degree. at the University of Academy of Theatre and Film from Bucharest, Romania. So when I went to Bucharest, my grandfather was still in the village in the same place where I grew up. And I remember I would go to visit him as often as I could because I really had a close relationship with him. And I was trying to be there for him, knowing that he was alone without grandmother. And so we would travel with friends of mine. And I remember one summer I went with a friend of mine to the village, and the boy by now was already a man. We were in our 20s. He was married and he has two daughters. He still is, and he has two daughters. And he invited me and my friend to go over to their house and have coffee and food. And I remember that I got to the house and it was summer. It was a beautiful summer day. They had set up a table on the terrace in front of the house and we sat down, but I could not believe that even after years where we moved on with other people, I made my choice to go back to school, to go to school and become an actress. He had moved on and decided that family was most important. We looked at each other and I had such a hard time looking at him. I was so shy. I was still that little girl, that little young girl that was kissed for the first time by him. And I couldn't bring myself to actually directly make eye contact. And I feel from the way that he was kind of, now that I'm kind of reimagining and recalling by trying to understand the details, he was sitting across and I believe he was kind of turned and he was looking down. I don't think he ever looked at me directly. And I was getting so red. I remember that I was getting so red and I couldn't believe it, that now I was going to give away that I was feeling shy and his wife was going to see that. So I was so embarrassed. I couldn't believe that there was no way that I was able to hide it, that I'm like, yeah, that was like a long time ago and we really didn't really speak about it. And I remember the wife looking at me. I mean, he has this beautiful wife and two daughters, gorgeous, and it's a beautiful family. But even after many years, I would have this sensation of innocence and youth. And I remember there were still women in the village and they would say, oh, are you married? Are you married? And I'm like, no, I'm not married. Oh, you have lost. Did you see what he has? Did you see his house? Did you see the land that you've missed an opportunity? Why would you do that? If only you would have married him, you would have been like, it was so amazing. So every time I would go after years and years and years, there were like our neighbors who would come, and older women, and they would say the same thing because they were going back to knowing what the story was, when we were teenagers, that we were going to end up together. So for me, that was the moment. I would probably use that particular person to try to recreate if I had to blush on stage or in front of a camera. Because even now, as I'm thinking it, it's not enough that you're thinking it, but you have to sensorially go there again and relive it. So if I'm reliving it, just the closing of my eyes like I did, and leaning my head back because he was taller, like I said, and just breathing and focusing on my breath right now and imagining and feeling his face coming closer to my face and then him just kissing me. It's a little bit revealing. So that kind of also on top of reliving the experience, just the fact that I'm sharing it with you guys, being that it's so revelatory, it's like, who wants to close their eyes and imagine that they're being kissed when there's no other person there? It also brings into the situation a sort of a loneliness, a sort of nostalgia, because so many years went by. The fact that life turned out probably different than what you have expected. And I'm not saying that it's worse or better, but the additional elements that come to recreating that event are all beautiful, complex human elements that can be distributed to the character. that you are actually portraying. So the fact that the blushing would happen if I had to play the same scene, but with the blushing would also come a little bit of sadness due to nostalgia. I'm sure that Eleonora Duse was probably going through so many different emotions. It wasn't just one emotion. So that's what's so beautiful about acting, because it requires of us to accept ourselves as the instrument that we have to play, the instrument with all our expressions and our history and our people from our life are notes that you kind of have to play and rearrange depending on what the character is requiring of you. It's such a gift when you really truly understand acting and what it does, not just for actors but for any other person of other professions. For people think it's also great for public speakers because they learn how to involve the audience in the way that they share their speeches. It's good for politicians, it's good for lawyers, it's good for, I say it's good for everyone, because the training is one of social and emotional learning, which is what makes us understand each other as people so much better, so we can communicate better. The language of, oh, I have to tap into the greatness and search for the greatness in myself, because I cannot bring the character down to me thinking that I'm not great. So I have to rise up to the greatness in the character, is something that will make you understand that it's helping you self-improve, it's helping you evolve into a better, kinder person. So that education that the acting requires is so palpable and needed for people in the world to be better communicators with each other, so they can recall the common elements that we all have as humans, no matter of our understandings, no matter where we come from, no matter our positions in life. We're all humans, and we all have the senses that help us do the best that we can in our lives. So we are always tuning our instruments from the outside in, from the inside out. The soul, we have to exercise our soul. The exercises for the soul, to paraphrase Stanislavski, are exactly what I've described right now. Having to go back into the past, not as something that you want to live in, but to go into it and to see an event as the one that I described, and how and what else comes with it now that you as an adult are reliving it. What else are you going to find that happened in that little girl, in that beautiful young girl, Mihaela, plus the life experience brought to it? What will reveal that will make you be able to bring that complex humanity to the character, and at the same time applaud yourself for what you have been able to create and to be? So it's not self-indulgent. It's not like, oh, I'm going to think of my life, I'm going to go back into my life and it's always about me. If you're thinking of it in a way that then you can be of service with, to, for instance, my actors that I work with as an acting coach, when I demonstrate to them what I demonstrated to you right now, they will be able to feel a little bit more secure in the environment, to leave themselves alone and to participate and to demonstrate and to put in practice, because I allowed myself to be vulnerable in the moment and say, this is what it was for me when I was first kissed. I need to blush as now a mature woman. How do I bring those rosy cheeks to the camera in front of an audience, in front of spectators? By bringing childhood, the gift in my life with those people from my childhood, my teenage years, and embracing it and considering them jewels, gifts that I have to construct what I need to in the future portrayals. But at the same time, why can't we do that even if we don't have to portray a character? Why can't we allow ourselves to go back to those beautiful moments of youth and innocence and say, you know what? I am already something extraordinary, even if I don't feel it right now, because that little girl, that innocent girl, is still inside of me. So I need to protect her. I can't beat her down the way that I'm beating myself down right now, that I haven't done enough, that I'm not successful enough. Because when I'm beating myself down, the adult, when I'm saying you're not sufficient, you're not enough, you could have done more, what's wrong with you? You're saying the same things to that innocent girl that was maybe 15 years old. Imagine her in front of you. If I'm imagining that girl in front of me right now, she was wearing, what was I wearing? I was wearing this dress that comes to mind right now. It's a beautiful red dress and it has white polka dots, and that's coming back into fashion. But it was a red dress and it had short sleeves and it had white polka dots, and I had a very small waist and I was tall, and I don't think that I found myself to be very attractive. I think I kind of thought that I was ugly and my sister was the beautiful one. But if I look at her right now, just acknowledging what I just acknowledged to you right now, I didn't find myself to be that beautiful. I want to say, you are beautiful. You were beautiful all along. I just wish that I could have told you. I just wish that somebody in your life knew that that's what you needed to hear. And again, just because the people in our life don't know what we need in the moment, that doesn't make them bad. But right now, going back to that beautiful girl in the red with white polka dot dress outside the fence and being kissed for the first time, and that joy of youth coming in can also bring a little bit of, I don't know, tears in my eyes, but it doesn't mean that I'm sad about it. It means that it's teaching me right now as an adult to be kinder to myself. So instead of saying you're not enough, you haven't done sufficiently, you're not successful, I can say, you know what, I would never do that to my younger self. So why am I doing it to my present self? No, you're okay. You're still trying to do. You haven't given up. The trying, the will to try one more time is already the doing, is already the succeeding and acting. So for as long as you don't give up, for as long as you're doing and you're evolving and you're sharing that what you know with others in hope that they can get something from it, you're doing. You're great. How do you take that? How do you take that? Can you deal with that? Can you? I'm asking you out there. Can you deal with the fact that you are extraordinary and saying I am extraordinary without apologizing for sounding arrogant? No apology. The same way that we are extraordinary as people, we are miraculous creations of something bigger than ourselves. How can we not consider ourselves to be extraordinary? That would be a lie not to. Does it mean that we don't acknowledge also the suppressed feelings that we have, which are the opposite of extraordinary, but they're part of what makes us human? Yes, we get to those too, and we bring them as masters of our own instruments. We bring them up to light and we mix them with the extraordinary and we put them together. It's the spectrum of our human condition. Extraordinary, ugly, ugly, extraordinary. I think it sounds more like a psychological evaluation of what I'm doing right now, but it's not, even though the definition is so clear made by Kazan when he says psychology transformed into behavior. But at the same time, I don't want there to be misunderstanding that I am knowledgeable of psychology, because I'm not. I have a psychologist that I go to that's needed for outside of my understanding of acting. Those have nothing to do with one another. They're separate. Psychology, somebody who's a medical doctor you need to see. Acting is completely the opposite. But It is emotional and social education. It's what it is. We are evolving as people. We analyze what we can do to be better, to do better, not only for ourselves, but first in doing that for ourselves, we can then be all those things to somebody else. I think the episode was going to be, which I thought it was going to be the first one, which was, whoa, I started with the fact that I didn't know what I was going to talk about. You don't feel passion. You don't feel that you can recreate the same moment again. So what do? Do you give up? Do you say, I'm not going to do the episode? No, you get up and you do it. You do it. You do it. You sit in front of the computer like I'm doing right now, when I didn't feel like I wanted to do it at all, the first take, but I did it. And the microphone. So this is another obstacle that actually happened today. First one before the first take, I had no inspiration. That's why I started with Eleonora Duse, because it's like, what do you do when there's no inspiration? You come up with a system, with the technique, and then you apply those techniques, which through senses, what I demonstrated, going back into the childhood, to create blush and innocence and giggle and butterflies and fly all over. The flowers, now the flowers come to me from the same place of childhood. Oh, the texture of those beautiful flowers that my grandmother used to have in the garden, bourgeois, those big flowers. And I never touched them as a child, but now I'm imagining touching them. So that sense of touch, instead of the smell, due to the pandemic with cover of the masks, imagine touching flowers without killing them. Just taking them into your hands and feel the satin of the petals. Oh my God, it takes me to a different image that comes to mind. So all these images are linked due to the personal in your life. The image now is of another fabulous actress, Italian. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's on HBO Plus. It is The Rose Tattoo, the film with Anna Magnani, based on Tennessee Williams' play, The Rose Tattoo. Tennessee Williams wrote for this actress, for Anna Magnani, to play the character, the main character, Serafina. And she's the first Italian, the only Italian, something like that, to have won an Oscar. The Rose Tattoo, Anna Magnani, volcanic performance, brilliant. I understand why she got the Oscar. Satin, the satin shirt reminded her of the petal of the rose, because when you really think about the texture, they're the same. So for her to see, to understand that, and to see the way that she actually behaves as Serafina with so much openness and so much passion, is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I love that. We've talked about Eleonora Duse, we've talked about Anna Magnani, both Italian, which, I didn't know I was going to go there. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So do I feel now, between the first take and the second take, which one is better? Because I still have now the thought that's kind of occupying my brain. Oh, the first one was better. Now I feel like you're forcing yourself to say things, trying to remember what you did in the first take. No good. Do not try to redo what you did in the first take. You can re-experience events, recreate them sensorially, detailed, moment to moment, but don't try to do what you did the last take or the last performance, because it's not going to be the same. Already the time has moved on. You have already evolved on. The fact that I didn't give up after I saw the microphone. I'm licking the microphone. Oh, another thing. Licking the microphone. Licking my arm. What am I talking about? That's been happening within the last couple of weeks, that everybody's going crazy for, is the red carpet between Jessica Chastain and Oscar Isaac. They were posing for cameras, and then all of a sudden he goes and he licks her. and the video goes viral. What do you think that is, people out there? It's the animal exercise. Yes. Starting with the primal scream that I started in the beginning of this episode, the primal scream. Some of those techniques that were discovered to be dependable for actors by Stanislavski and by Strasberg, having watched actors like Eleonora Duse and Anna Magnani. One of the techniques is the animal exercise, and that requires for actors to drop into an animal. Observe an animal on YouTube. Find an animal that you need for yourself to give you the strength and the primal need to leave yourself alone and to get out of your way, because we are in our way more than anybody else is. We might blame other people for being in our way, them not letting us achieve what we want. It's their fault and his fault and her fault. We are in our way the most. The animal exercise. Next time I will demonstrate, and you will feel so free having done it. Primal scream, animal exercise. Stay tuned. For now, what have you gotten from this episode? I want you to think of a moment in your lives. One, what is the moment? Where is the place? Who is the person that you have felt blushing, butterflies, innocence, youth? I already know what it is for me, and I wouldn't have known if I didn't do this episode. So the fact that I didn't feel like doing this week, the fact that I got up and I did it, I want you to do the same thing. You don't feel like doing something, you're feeling nostalgic, because I am too, with the end of summer, beginning of autumn, but there's the renewed will to do better, to be better, to become better by trying one more time, not by result. If you go for the result, I want to blush. How do I blush? I'm going to blush. I want to blush. I'm going for the results. Blush, blush, blush. That's fake. No. You will have gained so much more if you allow yourself to go and find where that blush into your cheeks comes from and what was the experience around it. New discoveries. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. Bye. Ho!